Top 10 Places in Bloodborne. Before we begin, Bloodborne is a magnificent game. It merges elements of survival horror and the macabre with the Souls franchise. If you're a fan of the From Software series and have not yet picked up this gem, you are missing out on a lot it has to offer. Bloodborne is set in the 1800s, back in the Victorian age, where the Black Plague was rampant and the streets dimly lit by gas lights. For an early 2015 game, Bloodborne still scratches that RPG itch eager gamers are seeking. It delivers everything that you need from essential RPG games. Aside from console exclusivity, this game deserves to be revisited and played in anticipation for the next From Software release. Even if a veteran of the Bloodborne game, it is still nostalgic to go back to the very places that grew a very macabre-ish, gruesome place in our hearts as we ventured through the streets of Yharnam. With that all out of the way, let's begin. After being grabbed by the amygdala outside the entrance to Yahar'gul, you won't normally be prepared for a forensic frenzy to ensue and consequent death. But when a dubious soul misguides with a tonsil stone in your bag, you end up being transported to this mysterious building. Seemingly sinister and surreptitious intentions behind the operations that take place here, besides the lifeless amalgamations of plasm that have concocted themselves into somewhat of a sluggish humanoid figure, this place would seem like any other normal college building, or even a very prestigious laboratory. But the extraterrestrial dregs that litter this building point to a more of a consternation conclusion. At the end of the hall, there is a giant guarding the exit, your only way out. Wielding fists of flames, possibly concerned with what is beyond its realm, this giant wants nothing more but to keep anything that resides in this building from going out. After surviving through the serpent-ridden Forbidden Woods, you would hope for at least a bit of respite? Well, think not. As you enter this prominent area of eldritch research, you are stepping on grounds that relay the proneness to madness that any sane human can succumb. You hope for a lantern to rejoice in your defeat of the previous area, but are met with a nightmarish creature, something straight out of a radiation plant on another planet, housing 1,000 eyes on its head and insectoid-like features. These bugs of madness want nothing more than to latch onto your very being and drool in the essence of insanity through concentrated whispers to your ears. After afflicted, you have nowhere to run or hide as you watch your frenzy meter build up and face your inevitable doom. A brain sucker is situated out by a tree next to the terrace, overlooking the moonstruck Lake Anor, along with more insectoid-like kin. You will find an entrance to the building that shadowed you from the moment you stepped foot in the accursed Byrgenwerth. As you enter, you can't help but question the silence of the room. You proceed forward, only to be met with a member of the choir with the agenda to keep you from ever disturbing what has passed this path. A geriatric Willem fixated by the moon's presence, and Rom, the vacuous spider. The moment you enter the research hall, you immediately know something is not right. After slaying the members of the church below and ascending the lift, you take a few steps forward, only to reveal a poisoned pool, with a patient squatted at the edge of it, scouring the pool to find his lost pupils, which don't even exist. This whole area is reminiscent of a corrupt asylum that houses large volumes of patients with mistreating nurses and doctors. On the first floor lies Saint Adeline, a lost soul ravaged unfortunately by Lady Maria's zealots' experiments. She is left churning and aching for brain fluid. As you ascend the moving staircase, you can't help but feel despair for all these vibrant beings that have no purpose or reason to live, only to be tarnished in pain for their life. When approaching the hospital wing, you are encroached with thuds and tremors as a large patient is manically beating the ground and anything in its general vicinity in reaction to the constant pain. There are lumen flowers littered all around the outside environments, which sheds a tiny bit of light on this penitentiary of despair. Walking in the dark areas may lead you to some surviving patients with their humanity yet intact, but beware. Lurking in the dark are patients mutated beyond the others, with a lanky arm oozing with toxicity, and will not stop at once to ambush you from behind, grapple you with a vice clutch, and rub their malformed bumpy arm back and forth upon your mouth like a violin. As you approach this forsaken village, thought to have originated at the turn of the millennium, you crumble at the sight of countless witches and marksmen wielding bone marrow ash used only to pick off any wandering spirits such as yourself. But when you make it through the turmoil with a sigh of relief, you are met with a what the fuck moment, just coming to grips with what you are seeing, as there are two old ladies prancing while wielding swords high in the air that look crisp to the touch to grip onto any fleshy throat and gape a new one in it. There is a dimly lit cottage nearby as well. You try approaching it with hope, only to be met with a snarly growl, like whatever is inside would not think twice at lunging at your face and take chunks of flesh out of it with its teeth. As you pass the portable execution guillotine that had the extracted eyeball of a helpless victim and make your way up the hill, you will notice behind a hunchback a gate tightly sealed for a reason. By an alcove and some erected epitaphs, there are a flock of mad crows barking at you incessantly, but among these mad crows will have a placid crow, a friend in dire times. Over the way is a decrepit barn, drooping shadows, eroded wood, decay on the hay, and carcasses of animals on the floor. You approach this barn and hope to never go back in, for next time you enter, what lurks beyond the shadows will only be a gamble. For what really lurks for your demise in this place are deranged old village women waiting behind any corner to grab unsuspecting passing by and violently slit their throat. You would only hope for dispensation after ascension, but not in the case of the upper Cathedral ward. This place is a question in of itself, and what transpired behind the scenes up here. The entrance being locked from the tomb of Odin, there is unsuspecting foul play afoot when it comes to the church and what they suggest would be for the greater good. All of the entrance gates are sealed tight with a lock in the upper Cathedral ward, and many abreedus babies littered all over the floors like unwanted premature babies thrown in a firm. Making your way around the side entrance that is open reveals a scythe-wielding churchgoer that was probably programmed to guard that entrance autonomously. When entering the hall, it turns eerily creepy and anxiety-driven when you walk the tight dark corridors of unknown, when a brainsucker could be lurking anywhere at any time to suck your hard-earned insight right out of your head. Entering the main part of the hall will only get worse when the lights are cut by the mischievous werewolves that were climbing on the chandeliers, then breaking them from their sheer weight. You are now faced with a pitch-black, cramped and tight hall filled with brain-suckers and werewolves, sniffing your scent out through the now nocturnal space. Good luck. Arriving unannounced to the royalty party, you find yourself gripped in the cold. Absolute change of atmosphere, and what lurks beyond is more chilling. Blood liquors scoured across the courtyards of the castle, draining all executed corpses of every drop of blood, and as a bloated liquor, too bombust to even move, let alone hurt you, sits in a pauper state of gluttony. Entering the castle only reveals a maid scrubbing away at the floor furiously. When she is disturbed by your presence, you are lucky to unscathe the encounter, and that she is not wielding a rapier. Maidens that were attempted to be beheaded, ethereal beings, once lines of royalty, only haunting as phantoms, float around the castle's grounds, screaming at every intrusion with the pain that they felt on their execution day. The castle's foregrounds will seem a bit quiet. You walk them unprepared, only to have a statue-mimicking creature pop out of its stationary trance to grab a hold of you and maul at your head with its corroded and blunt yellow teeth. These gargoyles are found all around forsaken Cainhurst, relishing in the fools they can make for dinner. Inside the main area of the castle will host a wide array of books and assortments for the visitors, if they can make it back alive. Ascending the castle's rooftop will be met with quite a challenge, as Martyr Logarius, king of the executioners, waits there for a willing contestant. If you were seeking out for a safe haven or a hub, then you might have come to the right place. In the tomb of Odin lies a helpless old chap, the only being in Yharnam that does not want impending bloodshed. The chapel dweller. This man wants nothing more than to bring as many survivors to this safe place, with incense to ward off the beasts, to survive the night of the hunt. Uninquisitively, large eldritch gods are also lurking around the ward, but unseen from the uninitiated. Many survivors will come here seeking refuge, but unlike the chapel dweller's best interest, all met ends in despair. Making your way to the grand cathedral can prove to be a task, dodging the giants that guard the cathedral, only to be met with Vicar Amelia praying at the altar of Lawrence's skull, and herself transforming into a gargantuan beast. Yahar'gul hunters along the executioners are guarding the way to the Yahar'gul village with brute force. Snatchers behind every dark, foggy corner, waiting to beat you to death when you least expect it, then carry your corpse in their large sack to their pile in another village. An overloom of Yharnam is met by a hunchback blindly staring out in the overlook. Foggy back streets and narrow laneways are rampant, knocking on doors revealing survivors seeking a sanctuary and others mocking your existence. A central graveyard is marked in the middle of Cathedral Ward, housing the eternal homes for many underground, but above sits three giants as obstacles to any traveller's path. On the double doors to this decrepit town reads a note left by an old hunter. This town is long abandoned, hunters not wanted here. Opening the door reveals a city that has been through toil and ruination, completely tarnished. Ground Zero. This is one of the original places of the outbreak of the Scourge and beastly contractions to man. Like a plague, but much similarly, a plague that is bloodborne, had ravished all innocent victims of this old city and spread through the blood of each victim, creating the scourge of beasthood. You walk through this post-apocalyptic-like area in anticipation of what's to come, with beasts hanging out in every corner from endless weight. You are met face to face with a Gatling gun, spraying down at your very position, Maneuvering through the rundown buildings and apartments of this city, you find the source of this commotion, only met with another hunter, Jura. He sees these inhabitants not as beasts, but the people they were before they were infected. As a veteran hunter, seen enough bloodshed to realize it is wrong. Going through the cathedral of this town strikes a terror in your heart, screaming beasts in every dark corner, feeling you are over-surrounded and blind, not knowing where the next enemy will pop out from the shadow while slitting you with their razor-sharp talons and secrete poison into your bloodstream. Inside the darkened and abandoned cathedral hangs the carcass of a blood-starved beast, crucified by many villagers of the old town. Making your way through the village gets even more scarier. You find huge double doors barring in whatever scourge could come through and affect the village beyond, and werewolves that are hanging by every ledge and corner of the town, waiting for you to pass by them, only for them to lunge down on top of you and tear you limb from limb. Entering this small hamlet for the first time is a breath of fresh air. At the same time, garners and leaves a lot of questions unanswered. While walking through this damp monsoon of decay and parasites, you are completely embellished in trypophobia from the sight of the barnacles that are infesting the hamlet's walls and inhabitants. There are lots of eroded huts that house treasure and also afflicted fishmen. The center of the hamlet has a well. Deep down, an abyss of carnage and terror from the shark men that crawl and wait in ambush. The many fishermen sorcerers will slow your path of progress with their accursed brew sorceries that fling purple skulls at your way, and the gurgly sounds of the motion-slow fishing hamlet inhabitants, making you believe that they themselves are not fully in control of their brain, but are housing large cells of bacteria and parasites, turning their best interests mutual. Making your way through the heart of the hamlet, you are gripped by an all-too-familiar bell ring as a usurper enters your world with the intentions to bash and impale your body to a bloody pulp. Further on, inside the dingy and damp caverns of the hamlet, lurking in the murky depths of the caves, lie winter lanterns, idle to grab you and suck the vital essence away from your soul, building up the frenzy meter all in the process. There are kinnan shells propagating around the exit of the cavern that leads to a stormy coastal shore. There lies the body of Kos, and off it, as an appendage, the orphan of Kos. The Victorian Gothic setting and the archaic Roman architecture are just a few of the features that central Yharnam has got going for it. When you enter this city unbeknownst, you are met with blood-hungry villagers and beasts waiting to tear your brains out of your skull. While ascending a ladder that leads to a lantern, you hear the grueling screech of a beast off in the distance, knowing that you will be facing this creature in the near future. Colourful characters are scattered over all the houses as the inhabitants are arrogant and condescending, knowing that they are warm and safe while you are stuck out in the cold where death could be around any corner. You walk into the centre of this town to hope for a peaceful gathering of people exchanging intelligent ideas, only to be met with a mob ravaged by the plague and yearning to see bloodshed by any innocent victim they come across. Making your way through a maintenance shaft housing tools and equipment will lead you to rafters where a hunter is waiting to meet you. Go even further and you are in the Yharnam sewers, only to be faced knee-deep in waste and corpses crawling at you. Under the aqueduct lies a man-eater boar waiting ravishly for its next meal to walk past. A little girl with the misfortune of hope and compassion in this lost land gruesomely meets her demise by trying to escape. An executioner snugs sidely by the gate, intimidating the new and curious players. On the Great Bridge lies 2 werewolves patrolling the area. Beyond lies a hunchback wielding a single brick as a weapon in hopes to pummel the brains of its victims, and also a screeching beast that will pose to be a major obstacle in many travellers' will for existence. All this set in a dark Gothic Victorian era city, packed with lots of nostalgia and relevance to the ever unfolding plot. I love you, Central Yharnam. So this concludes the top 10 places in Bloodborne list. I want to thank each and every one of you very much for making it to the end. This was a very special project for me, and I couldn't have done it without you viewers. It was driven home into my heart, and I had it in my brain to make it. I wanted to make it happen, and I did. I enjoyed it making it as well, very much, and I really hope you enjoyed watching it, which would make me feel twice as good for making it and you guys enjoying watching it. Let us know what you think in the comments, and we'll see what happens. If I can find this as a series and start on another Souls game in the same genre, we'll see what happens. But anyways, guys, get back into Bloodborne. Seriously. Alright, see you guys.